Well, the Supreme Court decided in September that in the case of the Elkhart Four, it's not murder, but rather a burglary that had no foreseeable deadly consequences when the teens broke into their neighbor's home. The story started just about 3 years ago in the city of Elkhart, with 5 individuals and what they call a bad mistake. As you'll see, where they are now feels like an entirely different life. It's just after count, roughly 11 a.m., and the inmates at Wabash Valley are in transit. Blake Lehman and Levi Sparks fall in line, some of the youngest inmates at the prison.
I said I've been here for 3 years. I've been locked up for 3 years, but I mean, it feels like so much longer. I had to mature because this is no place for a kid.
What brought them to Wabash Valley they describe as a bad mistake with a deadly consequence no one expected. On October 3rd, 2012, a group of 5 friends thought no one would be inside this Francis Street home. But when the oldest of the group was shot and killed by the homeowner, and Blake shot in the leg, the rest went down for murder.
When it happened, it was like, what are they talking about?
Blake Lehman and Jose Quiros were 16 at the time of their arrest. Levi Sparks was only 17, and Anthony Sharp Jr., 18 years old.
I just put my hands behind my back. And then I happened to look behind and was like, what am I being arrested for? And then that's when he told me murder. And it was, everything just like stopped for a second, like, hold on, what are you talking about?
What happened inside unraveled quickly. Lehman, Sharp, Quiros, and 21-year-old Danzel Johnson broke through the 2 back doors to get into the kitchen. Within minutes, gunshots.
And I heard a bang, and then I jumped up, like looked around, like, okay, if they're doing this, why are they being so loud? And then I heard about like another 3, 4.
Still sitting on that porch, Levi Sparks received a phone call on Lehman's cell, a mayday telling him to come across the street. But it was too late. Quiros fled out the side window. Sharp managed to escape the scene, but Blake Lehman and Danzel Johnson were hiding inside a closet, both shot. Danzel fatally.
You know when you get an adrenaline rush and you start like shaking real bad, heart starts beating, well, yeah, that's kind of what happened to me.
Their fates became more bleak from there. The Elkhart Four, as they've been known, were about to be dubbed murderers. When the trial rolled around the following summer, 3 of the 4 were tried jointly. Quiros had accepted a plea deal for 45 years.
It needed to be tried in order to find a good resolution for the boys, because ultimately, the way the law was written, it would be pretty tough.
Defense attorney Vincent Campiti represented Levi Sparks through the trial and appeal. He hoped the jury would convict the teens of burglary, but after 4 days of testimony, 5 hours of deliberation, all 3 were found guilty of felony murder.
To suggest that the 16-year-old, the 17-year-old was convincing and forcing or making and had a huge impact on the oldest kid there, to do this seems to me ridiculous.
In Indiana, murder occurs when someone kills another human being while committing or attempting to commit a felony. In this case, a burglary.
When they said guilty, I could hear my mom in the audience, and I was like the one, it was the one voice I heard over everyone.
The punishment they faced, 45 to 65 years.
When they read it off, I just put my head down and shook my head, because it was kind of like I was in another blank space, like when I first got arrested.
And it was an emotional sentencing. Circuit Court Judge Terry Shoemaker handed out a 50-year term for Sparks, 55 years for Lehman and Sharp. But that wouldn't be the end.
Reverse the conviction.
Their case made it all the way to the Indiana Supreme Court. On September 18th of this year, the answer they'd been waiting for.
Heart dropped. I'm like, oh man, I hope he's right.
The Supreme Court had thrown out their murder convictions.
Yeah, everyone was like, why are you smiling so big as there? You don't even know.
But will others share a similar path? The Supreme Court didn't throw out its current interpretation of the law, which allows co-defendants to be convicted of murder. Those decisions of who to charge and with what still lie with local prosecutors. Now, we asked you the question on Facebook, do you think whether the Elkhart Four are guilty of murder under this law? 28% voted in saying no, they disagree with that conviction, but the majority, 65%, voted yes, they feel the boys were rightfully convicted by the original court. 7% said they were undecided. The question now is, how will the Supreme Court decision affect future interpretation of the law? Is this a total shakeup, or will the current precedent still reign? Tune in tomorrow night just before 6 to find out.